Hi, 8th grade. Today for the video we're going to be continuing to look at functions. Take down your notes on functions at the top. A function means that every input has one output. A line needs to have a constant rate. Pause the video to take down these notes. Okay, so this first example is a table which we haven't really looked at yet in these videos. But looking at this table, we're trying to figure out whether it's linear and whether it's a function. If we see a table, the easiest thing to do is first figure out, is it a function? Is this table a function? If we look at these points right here, when x equals 1, y equals 1 or 7. So for your one input, or your one x value, you have two y values, so it is not a function. If it's not a function, we can pretty much assume that it is not going to be linear. Because if it's not a function, it will not be a line. Looking at the next table, when I look at my x values, first let's figure out, is it a function? So is this table a function? All of my inputs are different, so it is a function. But is it linear? So when I look at my x values, I see that they're all increasing. We're going from -2 to 0 to 4. And same thing with my y values. My y values are all increasing as well. So if I'm graphing this, I'm just going to sketch a graph. So my first point is -2, which is about here. So go over 2, and then up about 1. We'll plot it there. And then I have 0, and up 3, about here. And then I have 4 and 7. That looks approximately like a line. How can we check to make sure it's a line? We can also find our slope from 2 points. So we can pick -2, 1, and 0, 3, and find our slope using these 2 points. 3 minus 1 over 0 minus -2 will give us 2 over +2. And then if I do 2 more points, I'll do the bottom 2, 7 minus 3 over 4 minus 0, which is 4 over 4. This can be simplified to 1. 4 divided by 4 is 1, so can this. So is my slope between this point and these 2 points the same? Yes, it's both 1. So the answer is yes, it is linear. Alright, for the next one, our points are not in a table, so we want to rewrite them in a table. So I'm going to rewrite all of my points into an x and y table. And last one is 1 and 6. Alright, first we're going to figure out, is this a function? Is this table a function? If I look at my x and y coordinates, I don't see any of these inputs repeating, so every input has its own output. So yes, it is a function. But now let's ask ourselves, is this a line? So let's look at both sides of this table. So on the right side of the table, I can look and I see that my x's are increasing at a constant rate that's going up by 1. When I look on the right, I see that I'm increasing by 2. So again, it's increasing constantly. So is this a line? Yes, because it has a constant rate. I can also check it by graphing. You can go -2, 0, -1, 2, 0, 4, 1, 6, and you can see that this will form approximately a line. So it is linear and it is a function. For the next one, we need to do the same thing and write the points in a table. So -2, 4, -1, 5, 0, 3, 1, 4. So is this table a function? We want to start with function when we're seeing things in tables. Yes, it is. All my x values are different, so it's fine. But is it a line? If I look at my x values, they're all increasing constantly by 1. But what's happening with my y values? My y values are increasing, but then they decrease and then they increase again. So if I were to draw this on a graph, it would start, my x values are always increasing, so I'm always going to the right, but my y values increase and then decrease and then increase again. So is that going to be a line? No, it will be non-linear. Then we have one graph at the bottom. Is this graph a line? Yeah, it is. Is this graph a function? No, it is the one line that is not considered a function. And you can see because for our one input of 3, your output can be anywhere along this line. So it is not a function. Let's do 2 more practice tables. Is this table a function? Yes, all of our x values are different. Is this table a line? Yes, because we are increasing at a constant rate. Our x's are increasing by 2, our y's are decreasing by 1. Is this table a function? No, because we have our 3's repeated. So is it a line? No, it's not going to be a line because if it's not a function, it can't be a line.